Isabella scrubbed billionaire Adrian Wolf's penthouse floors every day until his fiancée humiliated her publicly. Days later, she entered his company boardroom as everyone's new boss. Before we continue, subscribe to AfroK Cinema, like, share, and comment where you're watching from, because this story gets crazier. The alarm rang at exactly 4:30 a.m. Isabella Stone opened her eyes slowly and stared at the cracked ceiling above her tiny apartment. For a moment, she wanted to stay in bed. Her body hurt, her hands were sore, and her eyes were still heavy from studying until nearly midnight. But she didn't have a choice. From the small room nearby, she heard coughing. Her grandmother. Isabella quickly got up. "Grandma?" She rushed into the old woman's room and found her sitting upright on the bed. Her grandmother smiled weakly. "I'm okay, sweetheart." But Isabella knew that smile. It was the smile her grandmother used whenever she was trying to hide pain. Isabella grabbed her medication and handed it over. "You need to stop pretending you're fine." Her grandmother chuckled. "And you need to stop working yourself to death." Isabella smiled faintly. "Someone has to pay these bills." Her grandmother looked at her carefully. "You're still studying at night?" Isabella nodded. "Online business classes." Her grandmother sighed. "Child, you already clean houses all day." "One day, Grandma." Isabella smiled. "One day, I won't clean people's houses anymore." Her grandmother touched her face. "You're meant for bigger things." Those words stayed in Isabella's heart, because deep down, she believed them. But life wasn't making it easy. By 6 a.m., Isabella was already on a bus heading toward Manhattan. She watched wealthy people walk into expensive buildings while she sat quietly in her cleaning uniform. No one noticed her. And honestly, that was how the world treated people like her. Invisible. When she arrived at Wolf Heights penthouse towers, the security guards barely looked at her. She signed in and entered the private elevator. Her biggest client lived at the top floor. Adrian Wolf, CEO of Wolf Enterprises, one of New York's youngest billionaires. Cold, brilliant, untouchable, and always working. Isabella had cleaned his penthouse for nearly 2 years, yet she barely knew him. He usually left before she arrived, and returned long after she was gone. Their lives never crossed. Until one morning, everything changed. She entered the penthouse and immediately noticed something strange. The apartment was unusually messy. Broken wine glasses, paper scattered everywhere, a lamp destroyed. And then she heard yelling. A woman's voice. "You care more about work than me." Isabella froze. That voice belonged to Claire Davenport, Adrian's fiancée. She had met Claire before, and she never liked her. Claire treated workers horribly. She insulted waiters, yelled at drivers, and once threw coffee at a receptionist. Isabella quietly continued cleaning. She wanted no trouble. Then Adrian's voice thundered. "This conversation is over." Claire laughed bitterly. "Oh, really? You think you can ignore me forever?" Silence. Then footsteps. Fast footsteps. And suddenly Claire stormed into the kitchen. She stopped when she saw Isabella. Her face twisted with disgust. "You." Isabella lowered her eyes respectfully. "Good morning, ma'am." Claire walked closer. "You enjoy listening to private conversations?" "No, ma'am." Claire smirked. "Then why are you standing here?" "I'm cleaning." Claire grabbed a glass of orange juice from the counter and poured it directly on Isabella's uniform. Isabella gasped. The cold liquid ran down her body. Claire laughed. "There. Now clean yourself, too." Isabella stood frozen, humiliated, heartbroken, angry. But before she could speak, Adrian appeared and saw everything. His eyes darkened. "Claire." For the first time, Isabella saw Adrian angry. "What exactly are you doing?" Claire folded her arms. "She's a maid." Adrian stepped forward. "She works here." Claire rolled her eyes. "Same thing." And then Adrian did something unexpected. He took off his expensive suit jacket and handed it to Isabella. "Go clean yourself up." Isabella looked shocked. Claire looked furious. "Are you serious right now?" Adrian ignored Claire, but Isabella noticed something strange. For the first time, He truly looked at her, not through her, at her, and something shifted, something neither of them understood. Later that evening, Isabella returned home exhausted. She hid the incident from her grandmother, but while studying on her laptop that night, an email entered her inbox. She frowned. It was from Harvard Business Online. Her eyes widened. She had applied months ago for an elite scholarship program and forgot about it. Her hands shook as she opened the message. Then tears filled her eyes. Congratulations. She covered her mouth. She got in, fully funded. Her grandmother rushed in. What happened? Isabella cried. Grandma, I got accepted. Her grandmother screamed with joy. They hugged tightly, for the first time in years. Hope entered their tiny apartment. But across the city, someone else was planning her destruction. Claire sat inside her luxury apartment, furious. She embarrassed me. Jason Cole looked confused. Who? That maid. Jason blinked. The cleaner? Claire's eyes turned cold. She looked at Adrian like she mattered. Jason laughed nervously. You're overthinking this. Claire leaned forward. Find out everything about her. Jason hesitated. Claire smiled dangerously. And if she becomes a problem, remove her. And far away, Isabella continued smiling at her laptop, completely unaware that powerful people had just declared war on her, and her life was about to change forever. The next morning, Isabella woke up feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. She stared at the scholarship email again just to be sure it was real. It was. She had officially been accepted into one of the most competitive executive business certification programs in New York through Harvard Business Online's partnership initiative. Fully funded. No tuition. No debt. No excuses. Her grandmother cried when she read the email again. I told you. You were made for bigger things. Isabella smiled. But I still have to clean houses while studying. Her grandmother held her hand. For now. Those two words stayed with her. For now. Later that day, Isabella arrived at Adrian Wolf's penthouse. She expected awkwardness after what happened with Claire. But Adrian was home, working. Again, he sat at the dining table surrounded by laptops, business reports, and coffee cups. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. He barely looked up. Morning. Isabella froze. He had never greeted her before. Good morning, sir. He continued typing. Then suddenly, did Claire hurt you yesterday? Isabella paused. No. Adrian finally looked at her. She humiliated you. Isabella forced a smile. I'm used to people like her. Adrian's expression changed. That answer clearly bothered him. But before he could speak, his phone rang. Then another phone. Then Jason Cole rushed inside. Sir, Adrian stood immediately. What happened? Jason looked nervous. The board rejected the overseas merger proposal. Adrian's jaw tightened. What? And investors are panicking. Adrian stormed out. He didn't even take breakfast. Isabella watched quietly. Something was wrong at Wolf Enterprises. Very wrong. And she had no idea she was about to be dragged into it. Days passed. Adrian became increasingly stressed. He stayed at the office overnight, skipped meals, ignored sleep. Even Isabella noticed. One night, while cleaning his office penthouse, she found him asleep at his desk. His face looked peaceful for once. Human, not like the intimidating billionaire everyone feared. There was a blanket nearby. She hesitated, then gently placed it over him, and accidentally knocked over a file. Paper spilled everywhere. She panicked. But then, one document caught her attention. Financial fraud reports. Suspicious transactions, millions missing, unauthorized signatures, and one repeated name, Claire Davenport. Isabella frowned. What? Then Adrian's voice startled her. What are you doing? She turned quickly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... He noticed the documents. His expression hardened. You saw that? I didn't read everything. Adrian stared at her, then sighed. Leave. She quickly left, but she couldn't stop thinking about it. Claire was involved in something dangerous, and Adrian clearly didn't know how deep it went. Meanwhile, Claire was growing more obsessed. She's still working there? Claire screamed at Jason. Yes. And Adrian defended her again yesterday. Claire smashed a wine glass. I want her gone. Jason looked nervous. Adrian, trust her. Claire's eyes darkened. Then destroy that trust. Jason leaned closer. What do you want me to do? Claire smiled slowly. Frame her. 2 days later, Isabella arrived at the penthouse and noticed police officers. Her heart dropped. What happened? One officer stepped forward. Are you Isabella Stone? Yes. You're under investigation for stealing a diamond necklace. What? She looked confused. Claire began crying dramatically. My engagement necklace? It's gone. Adrian looked furious. Search everything. Isabella trembled. I didn't steal anything. Claire pointed at her. She's the only outsider who enters this penthouse daily. The officers searched Isabella's bag. Then everyone froze. The necklace was inside. Isabella's face turned pale. No, that's impossible. Claire smiled secretly. Adrian looked devastated. Isabella? Tears filled her eyes. I didn't do this. But nobody believed her. The police arrested her. As she was being dragged away, she looked at Adrian, begging silently. He said nothing, and that silence shattered her. That night, her grandmother collapsed from stress after hearing the news. She was rushed to the hospital. Isabella sat in jail, crying uncontrollably. Everything she worked for was collapsing. Her scholarship, her future, her grandmother's health, everything. Then her phone call privilege came. She called her grandmother. No answer. Then the hospital answered. Her blood ran cold. Who is this? This is New York General Hospital. Her breathing stopped. Your grandmother is in critical condition. And suddenly, the world went silent. That was the moment everything started falling apart. Isabella couldn't breathe. What do you mean critical condition? The nurse spoke gently. She collapsed after experiencing severe emotional distress. Please come immediately. Tears streamed down Isabella's face. But I'm in jail. Silence. Then the nurse spoke softly. I'm sorry. The call ended, and Isabella completely broke down. She screamed, cried, hit the cold prison wall. None of this made sense. How did the necklace enter her bag? Who did this? And then she remembered Claire's smile. That smile, that evil smile. And she knew Claire framed her. But how could she prove it? The next morning, something shocking happened. Her charges were suddenly dropped. A guard opened her cell. You're free to go. Isabella blinked. What? Someone posted your bail. Who? The guard smiled strangely. You'll see. She walked outside and froze. Adrian Wolfe stood there, in silence. Rain poured heavily. Isabella stared at him with anger. You let them arrest me. Adrian looked guilty. I found surveillance footage. What footage? He handed her a tablet. She watched in disbelief. Jason secretly planted the necklace inside her bag. Her entire body shook. I knew it. Adrian's voice was cold. Claire ordered it. Isabella looked at him. Then why are you helping me? He looked broken. Because I failed you. She laughed bitterly. You think this fixes anything? My grandmother is dying. Adrian's face changed. What? She ran away, straight to the hospital, and what she saw broke her completely. Her grandmother was connected to machines, weak, barely conscious. The old woman smiled when she saw Isabella. You're here. Isabella collapsed beside her bed crying. I'm sorry. Her grandmother grabbed her hand. Listen carefully. Isabella leaned closer. There's something I never told you. Isabella frowned. What? Her grandmother handed her an old key. This opens a storage box. What's inside? Her grandmother whispered weakly, the truth about your parents. Isabella froze. What truth? Her grandmother began crying. You were never meant to live this life. Isabella's heartbeat raced. What are you talking about? Her grandmother whispered, Victoria Stone. Isabella froze. The powerful investor on Adrian's board? What about her? Her grandmother struggled to breathe. She's connected to your past. Machines started beeping loudly. Doctors rushed in. Everyone move. Isabella screamed, "Grandma!" And then, silence. Complete silence. Her grandmother's hand slipped from hers, and Isabella's entire world shattered. Days later, while grieving, she opened the storage box. Inside were documents, birth records, company shares, letters, and one shocking revelation. Her late father was one of the original founders of Wolf Enterprises. He was betrayed, his shares were stolen, and Victoria Stone had spent years secretly trying to restore them. There was also one final letter addressed to Isabella. She opened it with shaking hands. It read, "One day, they will know your name." And at the bottom, Victoria Stone's signature. Isabella stared in disbelief. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello." A calm female voice responded. "This is Victoria Stone." Pause. "We need to talk." But that wasn't even the worst part. Isabella gripped her phone tightly. Her entire body was shaking. "This isn't funny." The calm voice on the other end remained steady. "I know exactly how you feel right now." Isabella's eyes burned with tears. "You know nothing about me." Victoria Stone sighed softly. "I knew your father." That sentence changed everything. Isabella froze. "What?" "He built Wolf Enterprises with Adrian's father." Silence. Then Victoria continued. "Your father was brilliant. He created one of the company's earliest expansion systems. But greedy executives betrayed him." Isabella's breathing became heavy. "My grandmother said my shares were stolen." "They were? By who?" Victoria paused, and then said the name Isabella feared most. Claire Davenport's father. Isabella nearly dropped the phone. "What?" "Yes. He manipulated company records after your parents died in that car accident." Isabella's face turned pale. "That accident." Victoria's voice lowered. "It may not have been an accident." Everything went silent. "What?" "We don't have enough proof yet, but there were suspicious reports." Isabella sat down slowly. This was bigger than revenge. Much bigger. Victoria continued. "I've been searching for you for years." "Why now?" "Because the board is planning to remove Adrian as CEO." That shocked Isabella. "What?" "He's drowning in financial sabotage. Claire and Jason are draining company funds. And Adrian doesn't realize how deep the betrayal goes." Isabella clenched her jaw. "He didn't protect me," Victoria replied calmly. "And yet he bailed you out. He found the footage. He fired Jason. He ended things with Claire." Isabella froze. "He did what?" "He's trying to fix everything. But right now..." Victoria's voice became serious. "He's losing the company. What do you want from me?" Victoria answered without hesitation. "I want you to take your rightful place." Isabella laughed bitterly. "I'm a cleaner." Victoria interrupted immediately. "No, you were surviving. There's a difference." Then Victoria dropped the biggest bomb. "The board want a new CEO. I nominated you." Isabella almost screamed. "Are you insane?" Victoria remained calm. "You studied business in secret. You understand struggle. You know what corruption looks like. And you own legal shares. You're more qualified than people who inherited power." Isabella shook her head. "No, I can't." Victoria's voice softened. "Your grandmother believed you could." That broke Isabella. She cried silently. Victoria spoke one final time. "The emergency board meeting is in 2 weeks. You either disappear forever, or you take back what belongs to your family." The call ended, and Isabella stared into darkness. For the first time, she had the power to destroy everyone who ruined her life. But she didn't know if she was ready. For 2 weeks, Victoria trained Isabella relentlessly. Corporate law, board strategy, financial statements, executive negotiation, public speaking, everything. Isabella barely slept, but she kept hearing her grandmother's voice. "You're meant for bigger things." Meanwhile, Adrian was drowning. Stock prices were crashing. Investors were pulling out. Employees were panicking. The media began calling him a failed CEO. And Claire? She was planning her comeback. She met secretly with Jason. You deleted the surveillance backup? Jason nodded nervously. Yes. And Adrian suspects nothing? Jason hesitated. He suspects you. Claire smiled coldly. Not for long. What do you mean? She slid a document toward him. Jason opened it. His face turned white. Marriage certificate? Claire smirked. Fake pregnancy reports too. Jason looked horrified. You're lying about carrying Adrian's baby? Claire leaned closer. If I can't control his company, I'll control his life. Jason realized something terrifying. Claire had become completely unhinged. And what happened next, no one was prepared for. The morning of the board meeting arrived. Wolf Enterprises headquarters was in chaos. Reporters crowded outside. Investors rushed inside. Rumors spread everywhere. Adrian Wolf is being removed. New CEO incoming. No one knows who it is. Inside the boardroom, Adrian sat quietly, exhausted, defeated. He looked like a man who had lost everything. Board members whispered around him. Then Claire entered dramatically. Everyone turned. Adrian looked furious. What are you doing here? Claire smiled. I came to support my fiancée. We're done. Claire fake cried. And your baby? The room gasped. Adrian stood instantly. What baby? Claire pulled out fake test reports. You're abandoning your unborn child? Board members erupted. Adrian looked stunned. This is insane. Claire smiled internally. Her plan was working. Then, the boardroom doors opened. Everyone turned and froze. High heels clicked across the marble floor. Slowly, confidently, and then she appeared. Isabella Stone. But she looked nothing like the cleaner they once mocked. She wore a powerful black executive suit, luxury heels, calm confidence, and a look that terrified Claire. Jason nearly collapsed. No. Adrian stood speechless. Isabella? She walked past everyone, without looking at him, and sat in the CEO chair. The entire room exploded. What is happening? Victoria stood. As majority legal shareholder representative, I introduced the rightful successor, Miss Isabella Stone. Shock. Pure shock. Claire screamed. She's a maid. Isabella smiled coldly. I used to clean Adrian's penthouse. She leaned forward. But today, I'm cleaning this company too. The room went silent. Then she pressed a remote. Screens lit up. Evidence appeared. Financial fraud. Money laundering. Fake contracts. Everything linked to Claire and Jason. Claire panicked. This is fake. Then another video played. It showed Jason planting the necklace in Isabella's bag. The board gasped loudly. Jason tried running. Security stopped him. Claire screamed, You can't do this. Isabella stood slowly. You framed me. You destroyed my grandmother. You stole from my family. You almost ruined this company. Claire lunged at Isabella in rage. Security tackled her instantly. Then police entered and handcuffed Claire and Jason. Claire screamed while being dragged away. You think you've won? Isabella looked her directly in the eyes. No, I earned this. And in that moment, everything changed forever. The boardroom became silent after Claire Davenport and Jason Cole were dragged away in handcuffs. Just minutes earlier, everyone had been staring at Isabella Stone like she was nothing, a former cleaner, a girl they believed could never sit at the same table with billionaires. Now, the same people were standing on their feet, respecting her, fearing her, watching her. Reporters outside Wolf Enterprises headquarters were screaming questions. Cameras flashed endlessly. Security struggled to control the crowd. And inside that room, Adrian Wolf couldn't stop staring at Isabella. He looked shocked, proud, heartbroken, and confused all at once. The woman who once quietly cleaned his penthouse had just taken over his company. But strangely, Isabella didn't feel victorious. She thought revenge would feel amazing. She thought exposing Claire would heal everything. She thought becoming CEO would erase her pain. But it didn't. because the one person she wanted to celebrate with was gone, her grandmother. She remembered her grandmother coughing in that tiny apartment. She remembered the late-night encouragement, the warm hugs, the words, "You're meant for bigger things." Tears filled Isabella's eyes, and for the first time that day, she excused herself from the boardroom. She locked herself inside her new office and cried, hard, not because she lost, but because she won without the person who believed in her first. And then someone knocked. She quickly wiped her tears. "Come in." The door opened. It was Adrian. He stood there quietly. No expensive speech. No CEO pride. No arrogance. Just a broken man. "I'll leave if you want." Isabella looked away. "What do you want, Adrian?" He stepped closer. "To apologize." She laughed painfully. "For which part?" He lowered his head. "For all of it. For not protecting you. For doubting you. For being too blind to see what Claire was doing." He looked at her. "And for not seeing you sooner." That last sentence hit differently. Isabella remained silent. Adrian continued. "Do you know what hurt me the most?" She said nothing. "The day you were arrested, I saw fear in your eyes. And I hated myself for freezing." He looked broken. "I was too late." Isabella finally spoke. "My grandmother died believing I was a criminal." Adrian's eyes widened. "What?" Tears rolled down her face. "She collapsed because of that arrest. And before she died, she gave me the truth." Adrian sat down slowly. He looked devastated. "I'm so sorry." She shook her head. "Sorry won't bring her back." "I know." Silence filled the room. Then Adrian pulled something from his pocket, a small envelope. "What's that?" He handed it to her. She opened it and froze. It was a document. Adrian had transferred all his personal voting rights to her. Her eyes widened. "What is this?" He smiled sadly. "You deserve complete control, not partial power." She stared at him. "Why?" "Because you earned it. And because—" He paused. "I'm tired." For the first time, she saw how broken he truly was. Years of pressure, corporate battles, loneliness, manipulation. He looked exhausted. Adrian stood up. "I'm leaving New York." She froze. "What?" "I need time to fix myself. And I won't ask you to wait." He turned to leave, then stopped. "And Isabella." She looked at him. "You made me believe good people still exist." Then he walked away. And just like that, he was gone. 6 months later, Wolf Enterprises had completely transformed. Under Isabella's leadership, employee salaries increased. Corrupt executives were removed. Scholarship programs were created for low-income students. Single parents received company support. And cleaning staff salaries doubled. Because Isabella never forgot where she came from. She also launched a foundation in her grandmother's name, the Margaret Stone Foundation. It provided education opportunities for struggling young women, and it quickly gained national attention. One evening, after a long workday, Isabella visited her grandmother's grave. She placed fresh flowers gently. "I did it, Grandma." Tears filled her eyes. "I wish you were here." Then suddenly, a familiar voice spoke behind her. She already knows. Isabella froze. Slowly, she turned around, and her heart stopped. Adrian, standing there, holding flowers, looking healthier, calmer, at peace. She couldn't speak. "What are you doing here?" He smiled softly. "I came back for a board meeting." He paused. "But that's not the real reason." Her heart raced. "What's the real reason?" He stepped closer. "You." Silence. Then he spoke again. "I spent 6 months rebuilding myself. And every single day, I regretted leaving without fighting for us." Tears filled Isabella's eyes. "Us." He smiled. "There's always been an us." He got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. Isabella gasped. "What are you doing?" "I know this sounds crazy, but I've cleaned up my life. You cleaned up my company. Now, let me spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you." She laughed through tears. This feels unreal. Adrian smiled. Is that a yes? She looked at her grandmother's grave, then smiled. Yes. He placed the ring on her finger and kissed her hand. As the sun set behind them, Isabella finally realized something powerful. Sometimes life humiliates you before it elevates you. Sometimes people underestimate you before they respect you. And sometimes the girl cleaning the penthouse becomes the woman who owns the building. The end. Final lesson. Never let your current situation define your future. Comment trigger. If you were Isabella, would you forgive Adrian after everything? Comment below. Backhand index pointing down. And don't forget to follow AfroK Cinema for more emotional, shocking stories.